Okay, happy Sunday, everybody. Thanks for joining this weekly call, community call, where we enable, empower everybody to find the job they love. So our Career Go community calls is recorded, and it will be streamed on YouTube and social media for future reference. So if you're not comfortable being streamed or recorded, please leave the session now. Today's topic is Present Like Pro in Zoom by Dr. Paul, and I will share the details about the call in the last slide. So this community is going to help you boost your networking, practice, and knowledge. If you are comfortable sharing your LinkedIn profile in the chat and connect with others who share their profile, that would help you grow your network. So we work to see everybody in the job they love, and as well finding your full potential. So the call today is going to be mostly Dr. Paul speaking for maybe 30 minutes. It could be having some interactive discussions. We ask you to limit your questions to 2 minutes to give a chance for others to ask as well. So at the end of the call, we run a survey. It's 1 minute form. If you can be kind to fill it, it's going to help us serve you better for future calls. And we take a group selfie at the end. So stick around, try to be on camera all the time if you can. That would help also the call interactivity. And we use this selfie for marketing purpose. This whole community is all about volunteering. So if you're happy with what you get today, if you want to send some codes, recommendations to the speaker, Dr. Paul, through LinkedIn, that would be great. And also it will help you with your visibility within LinkedIn as well. So our promise to you, if you continue to show up, if you continue to apply what you learn, if you continue to teach others and bring others to this community, you will be hired within 3 to 6 months. So, be curious, ask questions, and again, continue to attend weekly. This is our great sessions and lots of wisdom, lots of previous sessions as well about resume, LinkedIn, interview, storytelling, and other topics. So you will not walk alone. Ask questions. There is no wrong questions here. Just let us know what you have in mind, and then we can help you. So our goal is ambitious. We want to get 1,000 plus people hired in 2021, specifically in the IT in Canada. However, some of those learnings could help other professions as well. And we have already some people who got hired through those sessions, so it's proven effective and powerful. So please focus and again, be curious with your questions. So we ask you again to ask questions and be active, be on camera if you can, and if you wanna again benefit those previous recordings, go to our YouTube channel. I'll put the link in the chat, and you will find lots of great nuggets for you. So coming up, again, Canada Day is going to be off. We canceled all Sundays for summer because, again, most people want to go out. So from next week onwards, it's going to be only Thursdays. So our first session is going to be an open discussion on July 8th, 8 p.m. Eastern. And those sessions will be shared in Eventbrite and Facebook and LinkedIn as well. So today's topic, Present Like a Pro in Zoom. The objective is how to prepare for your Zoom presentation, how to set up your Zoom stage, how to present and make an impact on Zoom. Our speaker, Dr. Paul Newton, is a speaker, brand storyteller, and coach for TEDx. In his talk, Present Like a Pro on Zoom, he's going to show you how to take charge of your setup so you look good and command attention. With that, I will hand it over to you, Dr. Paul. The floor is yours.
Amazing. Thank you, Ahmed. And thank you so much for hosting these sessions. Okay, all right. Just making sure that everyone can see me. Am I the main feature on your screen? Good, because that's what I want. This is Present Like a Pro in Zoom, and we're doing this because everybody is stuck to their screens all day because of this new reality that we're living in. This is the way we interact, and it's really different from being in person. I used to speak all the time in person I liked it because there was interaction. I could get a gauge of the audience and see how people were taking what I was saying. And I could also change in and adapt to the type of responses I was getting. It's so different with Zoom because you don't get the same feedback. So what I'm going to share with you today is how you can keep engaged, keep people in your energy, keep people in your presence, and do a good job when you're presenting through Zoom, whether it's to do a presentation for work or to have a job interview or just interacting with other people. Anytime you share, show up and have presence. So let me just get my notes here. Perfect. So this Zoom fatigue is a real problem. People's attention spans are about this big. And as soon as you lose them, they start texting, they start emailing, they turn off their cameras, and they're off doing other things around the house. So it's your job to be even better than normal. You need to amp up your presence and really be there for people and give them a reason to listen to you. You can keep them from multitasking if you can keep them engaged. So the solution to this Zoom fatigue, follow a few simple steps and really keep people with you. So this talk today, who's it for? Well, if you want to look good on your screen, then this is for you. If you want to give a professional presentation with impact, I'm going to show you how. And if you want to engage with people as if you're in person, I have some tips and some techniques that you can use. And finally, anytime you present or talk to anybody, there's got to be a reason, right? You need to have a purpose. You need to have a result that you want to get. So if you want to get results when you interact through Zoom or through any conferencing sort of platform, because we're on Teams right now, I am going to share a whole lot of different tips and techniques that I've learned from stumbling, having really bad presentations, and just being really frustrated. And over the past year, figuring out what to do so that it can possibly work. Then this isn't to say that I can't wait to see you all in person and just be in a room with you, because that's what I really want. But this new medium has allowed a lot of great possibilities, a lot of connections. You know, like we're meeting with people, not just here in Ottawa or in Canada, even like we sometimes have people in other countries. It's amazing what we can do here. But I am so looking forward to being back in person. So anyway, I do have some notes and some slides that I can share after the fact. I'm not going to use slides because what I find is if you're just staring at print on a screen, I lose connection. So that's why I'm here with you. So I'll share my notes after so you have something to reference and that you can use them if you find anything useful in this presentation at all. So to present like a pro in Zoom, 3 things, okay? First, prepare well for your talk or your interview or anything that you're doing. If you're going to be on Zoom, be prepared. 2, set up your Zoom stage. And I just mean what you see and how it's set up so that you present yourself through the screen this way. And 3, show up like a pro. Those are the 3 things we're going to talk about. And the reason that we need to do this, the reason you need to think about, I'm on a call now and I want to have an impression, I want to have presence. The reason you think about that beforehand is because when you show up, all hell breaks loose and you're just there and the impression's already made. So don't take the easy route. If you are presenting, don't think, oh, okay, I can have notes on the screen and just read them, because people can tell. And if you're always looking down and trying to read something, it doesn't have the same impact. You may not want to be sitting at a desk. You might notice that I'm actually standing like I am presenting. Being a talking head, like just like this, and that it's distracting and it throws people off. If you don't address these things, people will start texting and emailing, and instead of paying attention to you, they'll be doing other things. So for proper preparation, depending on what you're doing, it could be a talk. That's what I usually I'm looking at doing. I'm presenting to different groups, whether it's 7 minutes, whether it's 10 minutes, half an hour, an hour. I always want to make sure that I'm prepared fully. I don't wing it anymore, because as soon as you start winging it in Zoom, people start to drift. You need to grab attention right away. You want to always give the audience a reason of what's in it for them. Why should I be watching you, right? And for here, if you want to make impact through the screen, you don't want to lose people. You don't want somebody that's interviewing you for a job to think, I don't want to hire this person. They look like a slob, or they don't have any sort of presence or any concept of what they look like. Then this is why you want to be watching this video. And I'm telling you some benefit that you're going to get. So make sure that people know that they're going to get some benefit from listening to you. I always say, whenever you are presenting to someone, whenever you are trying to get someone's attention, pretend that you're speaking to a narcissist, okay? Somebody that only cares about themselves. There's three things that they think about. Who cares? What's in it for me? And so what? Those three things. If you think about those three things every time that you have an interaction with somebody, aside from thinking that the person's a narcissist and somebody you don't want to hang out with, it will help, because you will tell them, who cares? That means you have to think about them, right? Who's this person in front of me and what do they care about? Now, in the Career Go community, I know we all want to make an impression, right? Because we want to have somebody think that we're capable and that we're responsible and they should hire us. So if you're thinking, who cares? You're thinking about employers, right? You're thinking about someone who could hire you. So you have to think, what do they care about? What's important to them? And how can I frame everything I want to say through their eyes? That's who cares. What's in it for me? That's the thing you also want to think about. And you're thinking about them, not you. I know that if I want a job, I want to convince the person who's going to hire me that it's going to be a good idea for them to hire me, because I'm going to bring value to them. So I need to think, what could I tell them to make them think that hiring me is a good idea? And the really good way to think about that is think about the problems they have that you can solve. So anything that you say to somebody that you're talking to in a job interview, you want to think, how can I solve a problem for you? That answers what's in it for me. So the first thing, who cares? Like the job interviewer. What's in it for me? What problem are you going to solve for them? And the last thing is, so what? So what is, what's your ask? You know, now that I've told you all that great information, what do you do with it next? And so what allows them to know, okay, what's the next thing you want me to do? Because they don't know. So telling people what the next step to take, you know, like if I follow up with you on Monday, will that be a good idea? Or, you know, is there anything else that I can tell you today? Is there anything else that I can send to you, share with you? How about I give you a few examples of projects I've worked on? Those sort of things give people a so what so they can follow up. So those three things, you're talking to a narcissist. Who cares? What's in it for me? And so what? That's how you prepare to have any conversation. Think about those three things beforehand and have your answers ready. Next, when you're standing here in your, I call this the Zoom stage, because there's no stage that you're standing on. And I'll tell you, I'm actually wearing shorts underneath here. Yes, it's hot today. But your Zoom stage is a very special place that you set up so that you look good, right? And you look professional and you're ready. Practice like you're in person, right? Prepare like you're in person. So if you are doing a job interview, probably wear pants as well, but also be ready and act like you're going to meet somebody. Don't read your notes off the screen. If you do have to have some notes, have them in your hands and ready. Just have everything right in front of you, because nobody likes to see anybody going like this and staring. I mean, that's the most common view we have of people, right? They're like, I can't see, I can't find something on my screen, and the camera's pointing at their forehead. Not fun. And if you have any stories to tell people, and by stories, if you're in an interview, a story is, tell me about a time that you encountered a conflict at work. Or tell me about a time when something didn't go right and what you did. These are stories. So memorize your stories, because you know what happened to you. If there was a time where you failed at something, like you had a project and it didn't work, well, you start at the beginning. I was assigned this project. I was the leader of a team that was responsible for doing X, Y, Z. And then there was this big conflict that happened here and it didn't work. So what I did is I got another team to help me out. I asked and did some research. And then what we did is we applied some solutions and things started to resolve and we got a better outcome than we had anticipated in the beginning. That's a story. You have a beginning, a middle, and an end. But what you want to do is show that resolution, that something happened and then you took action and you got a result. Those stories, once you know them, they're yours, right? They're personal stories about you. So memorize them. You don't need notes on them. You know them. Don't read them off the screen. And anytime you can, just be conversational. Talk like you're speaking to people at your dinner table, or they're in your kitchen and you're having a coffee, or wherever you socialize. You want to be very personable and at the same time professional. So being prepared is really critical. Just know what kind of questions you're going to be asked, know what material you want to present, and know the result that you want. If we want to get hired for a job, that's the result, yes. But in order to get hired, we need to know that the result is I want to make a good impression on the interviewer. I want to tell the interviewer the things that he or she wants to hear, the things that he or she finds important, so that they think, wow, this person has really thought ahead and really understands what I need and why I'm here, and they're not wasting my time. Being prepared like that goes a long, long way. Now, the beauty of these sessions that Ahmed has pulled together and all the people that he brings in is that they're people that I would go watch anyway. They are people that I learn from all the time. It's not just about getting jobs, and it's not just about when you're struggling. These are things that I consider lifelong learning. I'm always studying. So the things that I'm sharing here, I've learned from other people. I've learned from watching people do a really good job, and I'm sharing them because it's not going to just help you get a good job. It's going to help you in everything that you do in your career, because it makes an impression. And people, when they see somebody that can speak and can hold their presence in front of a group, they think that person has it together. And that's somebody I want on my team or on my side. So learning to do this and practicing is absolutely key, because this skill will serve you your whole life. And there's a place I go to practice this. It's called Toastmasters. One of the things that's really great about Toastmasters is you meet every week or every 2 weeks, and you get together with a supportive group. They're at all different levels, and they're there to support you. Everybody's there to learn how to speak better, to have a better presence, and to learn how to tell their stories better. And the thing that happens now with Zoom meetings is we actually get people from around the world attending our club. And I meet every week, and there's people in Vienna, people are coming in from the Philippines, India, South America, all over the place, and all to our Ottawa meeting. Again, I can't tell you how much I am excited about meeting in person, but this ability to meet through this medium is really, really cool. So if you're trying to learn how to speak better, how to speak English better, and how to get your thoughts across better, I encourage you to reach out to me. I will take you to one of the meetings. It is so economical, I can't tell you. For all the training that you get, if you do join, and you can attend as a guest for as long as you want without paying a dime. But if you do join the Toastmasters Club, I think for the year it's about $200, and you'll never grow more than with that investment, I promise you. Now that's enough commercial about Toastmasters, because I have no stake in the game there. It's just been something that supported me throughout my whole professional career. But I presented this material to them as an educational, and people really enjoyed it because this is our medium now. So I'm going to talk about setting up your Zoom stage, all this sort of look around you, around me actually. First things first, use the equipment you have. I'm speaking to you through my laptop, but you can use your phone. You can use any sort of medium that you use. Like the equipment most of us have everything we need. So it's a matter of using it properly. I have different ways that I prop up my laptop or my phone in order to have the background look right. And I'm going to show you. But just use the things you have around your house. But it's really important to make sure that you use it correctly. Where do you set up? There's so many different places that we can set up, but we're often limited because of other people in the house, or what's the house look like? Is there a mess? What's going on around me, and what time of day is it? So find a place where you have a nice plain background, somewhere where you're not going to be disturbed too badly, I guess, and the lighting needs to be good. This may not be at your desk, and most people, they just think, okay, well, my computer's here, so I'm going to set up here. If you have a laptop, you can move it all over the place. Same thing with a cell phone. You can be anywhere, and it's just a matter of turning to get the right light. So for your background, I've actually invested in getting a background. So this wall behind me isn't actually cement. It's wallpaper that I got off Amazon, and I stuck it up there, and I get compliments on it all the time. Sometimes having your whole house behind you can look nice in the background. It gives some sort of artistic look, but make sure there's no people or pets walking back there, because everybody looking at you is more interested in, how did they set up their living room? That's really neat. Oh, look at that cat. It's a nice little kitty. Yeah, what's he doing? Oh, he's like unraveling a sweater back there. And then they're not with you, they're with your house. So often just keeping a plain background behind you is best because it's not distracting. The other thing that there are these virtual backgrounds, which you can choose to be anywhere you want in the world. Problem is, even if you have a great green screen or your your computer setup is really high tech, it still doesn't catch the strands of your hair very well. And when you move, you get these fuzzy looks that are distracting. And I haven't seen anybody do it really well yet. So if you can, just avoid those. Now, the framing of your Zoom stage. So that's this. How do you frame yourself? Well, there's this thing called headroom, and I went to Rogers, and I volunteered at Rogers TV for several months, maybe 2-3 years ago, because I just wanted to learn, like, how do the professionals actually film? And so I got to use big cameras on a TV set, and I got direction from a director, and they told me what to do. And the really important thing about looking good is you want to have the right amount of space above your head. So you don't want to have it cutting you off like right across your head, but you don't want to have this much space either, because that looks funny. So think about, there's a law of thirds, like the screen is divided in 3, and you want to make sure that you're occupying like a third or 2/3 of the screen, because that's visually appealing. And usually you want to be able to see down to just about the waist. Obviously, you don't want to get any shots of below the waist, because that's also kind of not so polite. But if you can show your whole upper torso, that's nice. And keeping your hands in the screen helps people to feel that sort of trust, because you're not hiding anything and you're not just this like bobbing, talking head. Lighting is really important. And I want to just show you the effects of lighting, because I'm using some lights because I've invested in a setup. But if I turn off my light that's on the side of me, look at the side of my face, right? I got the one light side, and then I got the shady side. And when you look shady, people think that you might be shady. It's a little sketchy because you're in the dark, and it doesn't give a good impression. Now, I don't want you to all go running out and buying lights off Amazon, but just use the lighting that you have. Now, obviously the window is over here. I've had to close the curtains because the light that faces south, and the light that shines in is really bright. So you see how much more lit I am from that side. And I actually have a blind, so I'll show you it here, because if the light were shining in from the window, as it does, like, I'm getting washed out by this light. So you don't necessarily want to have a really bright window next to you. The other thing is don't sit in front of the window because this is not nice, right? Nobody likes looking at that. That's called being backlit. So if possible, turn yourself so that the window is facing you, okay? And then adjust your curtains. So I have some blinds here and it diffuses the light. And then when I do that, the light's shining on me in a way that's more appealing. So that's my light there. And it's great. It was probably a couple of $100 to get 3 of them. But again, I'm not saying get those, but I present for a living and that's why I have that. So that's my lighting. Let me just plug it back in. And I'll show you the setup. So what you can do with your iPhone or your laptop is just rotate until you find the light is even across your face. Because when you're side lit, it emphasizes those creases and things that you don't necessarily want to show people, right? And it can make you look really crappy. The other thing is get set up well in advance. So you want to get that camera on your laptop to frame you properly. But when you get connected, I'm talking to you through Teams. But what I do is I don't have Teams on my, I don't have a subscription to it or whatever you call that. I do have Zoom. So I open Zoom and then I check and I see, what do I look like? Does my headphones connect? Is everything working okay? I check my tech in advance and I want to see that this is how I look. And then I met with Ahmed 10 minutes before and I got into Teams to make sure the framing was right and that my mic was working and that everything looked okay. So get set up well in advance. You also want to make sure that the camera is at the right level. The little dot on your camera, on your laptop or on your phone, it needs to be at your eye level because when you stare at that dot, it looks like I'm looking at you because that's where the camera hits your eyes. So speak to the dot because if I'm looking at the people on the screen, which we always do because we want to make eye contact with the person, then what it looks like to the person that you're talking to is it looks like you're looking down. And that makes an impression again. If you're not making eye contact, then people think that you're not paying attention or that you're shy or that you don't have confidence. So speaking to that dot gives you that air of confidence. What should you wear? Now, the clothes that you wear obviously make a good impact. And if you're showing up to a job interview, you don't want to show up in your t-shirt and jeans. You want to wear something very professional. Treat these Zoom meetings like they're an in-person job interview. Now, I have worn jackets. It gets really hot. I usually just wear this like a solid color shirt. And solid shirts are what you want to wear because patterns can get really distorted and they can, the camera catches them and they move and they shimmer. I didn't bring a patterned shirt to show you, but when you move with a patterned shirt, it just makes the camera scramble. You don't want to wear white because white absorbs light and it glares and it attracts your eyes. And so people are staring at a glare the whole time and that's annoying. And you don't want to wear black because it also just kind of, it just doesn't look quite right. So no black, no white, and no patterns. Anything else is fine. And then you want to just also look that you can contrast with your background so you don't wash away. Those are the things that you want to think about in terms of clothing. And then show up like you're a pro. Now, I said I wanted to show you my setup as well. This is, I've invested in different stands and things, but I just wanted to show you that you can use whatever is around your house. So this is an antique radio and a file box that I'm resting my computer on. And then for the rest of my stuff, I have a bar stool here. So I have my trackpad at the right level so I can reach it in my glass of water. I just made everything accessible and I created this setup with things I had around the house. So just be creative, innovative, and show people that you look good and they don't have to see what's behind the scene. Now, how do you do the presentation? 10 minutes before, make sure you do your tech check. We talked about this, right? There's nothing worse than not having the volume, not getting your camera to work properly, and saying, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? It actually has been shown that people trying to connect through technology and through Zoom meetings, they spend 10 minutes just trying to get the setup right so that they can have the meeting. Now, I'm just going to have a look through the chat here and make sure that I'm not ignoring anybody. So Ramsey likes the who cares, what's in it for me, and so what? And Kamal says says Cisco and Polycom have nice equipment for video conferencing. All right. I didn't see any other questions, but please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to pipe in or send me a message in the chat. I just remembered to look there. Now, how do you present in Zoom and look like a pro? So once your tech is all set up and you've got it working, you're ready to roll. Delivering your talk, keep your hands in the frame if you can, or just keep them together. It's trustworthy for people to be able to see your hands. They like to, if they can see where your hands are, it just creates that more of a sensation of a trustworthy person. Look directly at the camera instead of looking down. And I suggest if you're actually doing a presentation, don't use slides because you want to be the center of attention. And if you just become this little tiny square talking in the corner, nobody's looking at you and everybody else is there as well. So they don't see you. And looking at print slides for 5-10 minutes allows people to drift and zone out. If you want to encourage participation or have people participating in the chat, see if you can pop that chat box out. Like I know on Zoom you can, and I'll put it on a screen where I can see it so that I can always be checking the chat to see if people are interacting with me. But that isn't sort of a pro move, like learning how to look at the chat as well as talk. It's kind of difficult juggling all these things. But again, like I said, these are things that I've struggled with and tripped over and had all sorts of problems with over the past year. And I've just learned by watching others do it well and by finding out how to not feel like a total idiot when I'm presenting, that these are the things that have worked for me. Now, here's some pro tips for you. This works in person and on the camera. The screen, your audience, they're backwards to you. So if I hold my hand up like this, what side of the screen are you seeing? Type it in the chat. So which side? That's the right side. Yeah. This is my left hand. And I think that I'm talking about the left side of the screen, but you're seeing the right side. Now, to the audience, the right side of the screen represents the end or the future. So if I want to show you where A is compared to Z, A to Z or A to Z, this looks right to you, doesn't it? A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z. But if I was doing it for myself, I would go A, B, C, X, Y, Z, or 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, 11. So it's backwards. Just remember that. So if you say, there's 3 steps, 1, 2, 3, do it backwards to what you think. The other thing that's a pro move is whenever you're talking about the past, people expect that on a timeline, maybe the year 1900 is here, 1950 is here, 2000 is here, 2021 is here. Okay, so the past is over on this side, which is, I don't know what side of the screen it is for you. The left side, is that right? Nod your head if that's the left side, right? So people expect the past on the left and they expect the future on the right. So if you are telling people, you know, back in 1997, we used to do things this way. And we didn't have access to all the technology and all the video conferencing. At present, what's happening, the present's in the middle, now we can interact through the screens, we can video conference, and people all around the world can interact like they're in person. In the future, what we're going to see is holographic imaging is going to allow people to walk into the room and do all these things, and you're actually going to have a full-on virtual experience of being there in person with people. So see how we use the past, the present, and the future by working with the screen and where you stand. But you do have to remember, whether you're on the screen or on a stage in front of an audience, it's backwards. So those are pro tips for presenting, okay? That's stuff that we're sharing at TEDx for people that are doing like the premier kind of speaking, right? These videos that are up on TED or TEDx for forever. That's the cream of the crop of public speaking. It's what's considered the gold standard nowadays. This is what we teach people to do. So if you are using that and you get that down, you are going to make an impact. So all in all, when you show up to a Zoom meeting, you want to have a result. You want to create a result. And that result needs to be to leave an impact, to show people that you're adding value to their lives. And if you do that all the time, people will always want to follow you and pay attention to you. No matter whether it's a job interview, just a simple 5-minute meeting with somebody at work, or a conversation that you're having with a friend. If you always think with the end in mind, you consider the 3 concepts of making a narcissist happy, who cares, what's in it for me, and who cares what's in it for me, and so what, you're always going to make them happy. They're always going to think, wow, that was really valuable. So all in all, if you want to present like a pro in Zoom, make sure you're prepared. Prepare your talk well. Set up this stage here, the Zoom stage, and then show up like a pro, and you'll always have an impact. And I'm going to conclude there, and I'll leave it open to questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paul. This is really great tips and great, wisdom from, a TEDx coach who've done this several times. So thank you so much for sharing those, great nuggets. I'm gonna open up if anyone wanna, ask any questions. If you wanna raise your hand or come off mute, that would be great. And I remember now not to wear this black shirt anymore. Go ahead, Yassine.
It doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad.
So I know you mentioned that you wanted hands to be on the screen, but sometimes I hear that let me rephrase that sentence. Should hands be moving if they're in the screen? Because some people say yes, other people say no. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question, Yassine, because hand gesturing with intention or purpose, that's good. But if you're doing this because you're nervous, that's not good. And I've seen a number of people on screens, like they're nervous, so they're just rubbing their leg, and it just looks distracting. The other thing that people do is oh no, just a sec. Sorry about that. I had my screen shared with my iPad. Okay, the other thing people will do is they'll tap and they'll fidget. Anything that you're doing to burn off nervous energy, you just want to stop it. And it's hard to catch because you don't know you're doing it. But gesturing with intention, like I was showing you the past, present, and future, that you definitely should do.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
No problem. Okay.
Kamil, you have your hand raised. Go ahead if you want to unmute and ask your question.
Yeah. You are telling us like you without a presentation you have to present. But how we can do that? Because we have to interact person to show some presentation or some video or some like slides. Then we can interact and talk on a two-way.
And if I'm trying to understand what your question is exactly. Like, how are you asking if you don't have a presentation, how do you interact, or if you have slides, what do you do? I'm not sure what you're asking.
You have told us without a presentation you have to present without sharing a screen.
Right.
You were telling us
If you
I
have
want to know
slides,
how. Yeah,
I'm sorry. Can you ask that again, please?
you were telling us we you have to present without the slides. How can do that without a slide? We can present our presentation.
Right. I'm just suggesting that if you want to have more impact, I've found it better. I like slides. And when I'm in person, I have a lot of slides. Like, in terms of, I'll often have one slide a minute for presentations, and they all have pictures on them because I want to add impact. But that became a habit of mine, and I would depend on them because it told me what was coming next and what I should be talking about. The problem within Zoom is that, or in Teams, is that it takes up the whole screen and all the people see is the slides and they don't see you. And I prefer them to see me. So it's a suggestion. And I know that there's more advanced things. I think there are presentation modes where you can actually have the presenter be as big or bigger than the slides, or on one side or the other. I've seen that in Zoom. I don't know Teams enough to get set up like that. If I could do that, I would. But again, that's something that takes knowing your platform in advance. And when you're presenting to somebody else, you're at the mercy of what platform they're using. So I just tend to go without personally because it's easier. In TEDx, they try to encourage you not to use slides because they want the speaker to have the impact and the stories that they tell to create the visuals. But I fully realize if you're doing a technical presentation and you need to show some graphs or you need to show some research, then a visual is for sure necessary. And what I would suggest is share your screen for that moment and just show what you need to show, and then turn off the screen share and bring it back to you. Does that help? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you. Any other questions? Marisa, Hamzi, Lauren? Feel free to come off mute and ask your question if you have.
And the other thing we can do is if you want to play with the lighting in your room, or you want to look at your background, feel free to come on screen and we can work with it. I'm by no means an expert in it. I know what I've done to try and overcome some of the problems I've had.
Thank you. Okay. Lauren, go ahead.
Hello, guys. I have a question. How we can, I don't know, change better to look to the camera, fix the eyes to the camera.
Are you asking, Lorraine, how to have your eyes looking at the camera?
Yeah.
So that's where on my screen I have a green dot. It lights up when the camera's on, and I stare at that. So if I'm staring at that dot, it looks like I'm looking at you and looking into your eyes. But if I'm far away from the camera, I think I'm 3.5 feet from my camera, so I have more room. So if I'm looking at the screen, it doesn't look as bad as if I was sitting right in front of the screen. But when I have the camera here, if I'm here, like now I'm looking at you, but if I'm looking here and I'm looking at Ahmed, like he's on the left side of my screen, now I'm looking down and away from you, and it looks like I'm not paying attention to you. Can you see that, Lorraine?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, but more tips for just look the camera, more natural, right? Because when I have a meeting, I am looking for my screen and not my camera.
Right.
It's so difficult for me.
It is. Whenever you need to speak or make a point, talk to the camera. But if people are asking you to do something and you're talking and you're sharing some notes or what have you, that won't, people will understand. And I think meetings versus presentations are a little different, and people will allow you some leeway in terms of how you're presenting. But if you always make sure that you maintain eye contact, people will notice. So anytime that you have that opportunity to speak to the camera, do it. And if you can't, well, there are lots of times when that happens, and it's understandable.
Right. Thank you.
Good. I hope that answered the question, Lorraine.
Cool.
Hey.
And, yeah.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Ramzi.
Yeah. Hey, Dr. Paul.
Hey, Ramzi.
So it sounds like most of this information that you've gathered here has come from your experience through TEDx, and just wonder, are there any other references that we can use to additionally help us with presentation skills that you recommend?
Yeah, presentation it's an art, and as you learn it and get better at it, you can learn things that will have more impact and take less of an effort for an audience to follow. And one of the biggest things, and I've been on here talking about storytelling before. Telling stories has a huge impact with people and with audiences. So if people can be shown what you're talking about instead of being told, it's better. So if you give an example of a situation that demonstrates what you're talking about rather than explains, it really helps. Like one of my speakers is a lawyer who's talking about diversity, and so she'll tell her story about how she's a mixed race woman. She's part Black, part white, and part Indigenous, but she looks white. And then she's telling me about how when she went to work in London, people hired her, and she was wondering why the person that was way more qualified and had way more experience than her, but was actually visibly Black, why did she get the job over them? And she was always wondering that. And then she would go on to explain how people would actually say, well, you're Canadian, but you're a really posh Canadian. You don't seem like other Canadians. And so she really started to feel this sense of the fact that if I didn't look this way, I'd be treated very differently. And that's what her talk's about. But by talking about those experiences, she's showing it rather than explaining that racism or visible minorities. Anytime you can use a visual, it's like using a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, a story is worth 1,000 words as well. So telling a good story is the big thing with TEDx. The other things I shared about where you stand to have impact, it's a little harder because you can't really move around so much in your Zoom stage. But if you move closer to the camera, you're going to make bigger, more impactful points. If you move back, it lessens the intensity. And if you go either to the left or to the right, you're going to draw people into the past, into the present, and the future. These are things that you can do to add to your performance with the dynamics of the stage. But I'm trying to think of a whole list of things. Is there one thing in particular that you wanted to add or to know about what to do, Ramzi?
No, nothing. I was actually, my question is really just if there are any further reference material, like books or anything like that, that you would recommend in addition to what you've told us today.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you a lot. I've read a bunch of different great books. One guy to look up is Carmine Gallo, Carmine, and then Gallo is Gallo. He has a number of books. They're all on storytelling. The first one I read of his was called Talk Like TED. And he analyzes a number of TED Talks and talks about what they did that was really great. And that's exactly it. There's an E on the end though. And so they he talks about you can go watch the TED Talk and he breaks it down into what they did well. And then his other book that's really good is The Storyteller's Secret. I love that book. And it talks about the different elements of a story and gives lots of examples. So he's walking his talk. The other thing that's really cool that you can do that is that you don't need to use your own stories, right? So if you want to make an impact or show something that is really powerful, you can talk about somebody that people know and you can explain the story of what they did. And that shows people instead of telling them. Anytime you can show people and don't tell me, that's really good. The other thing that I got off Carmine Gallo, but actually I got it from my mom first, was that if you can make things understandable to anybody, people are going to like it better. And I remember back when I was in my first year university, I was doing a work report for a job placement I had. It was a microbiology job placement, and I had to work with salmonella bacteria, and then I had to write a report about how salmonella bacteria in the digestive tract and what it did, causing all sorts of different problems. And my mom's like, well, I should be able to read this and understand it anyway. And I thought, yeah, you don't know science. That's why you're not understanding this. But now I know that anytime that I can make really big words understandable to anyone, and anytime I can eliminate them and just use 1-syllable words or 2-syllable words, people think you're smarter. And if you look at Steve Jobs's speeches, the big launches, or Elon Musk, and they run that, I don't know what it's called, but they run the grade level understanding index, what level of a grade of schooling do you need to understand this? They're always about grade 3. So think about that. You don't want to have your language being at a high level because people won't follow.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Well, I think we have one more question on the chat from Yassine. If you want to read it, Dr. Paul.
I know a lot of people suggest headsets when doing Zoom. I personally like a headset because the voice. Can I see more? I personally like a headset because the voice is crisp. However, if I present, I don't feel as professional as maybe someone who does not have a headset. What are your thoughts on this? I think in this setting, the Zoom setting, headsets are basically a fact of life. People expect them. I'm wearing AirPods just because they're easy. I have a lapel mic that I use sometimes, but again, I'm not suggesting go out and buy all the equipment. Just there's so many things you can do. If you can be well understood with your headset and you can hear and communicate well, then definitely do it. It's basically part of our Zoom fashion now.
Cool, thank you. I think we're good. We're almost 4 minutes to 11. So if you want to take the selfie, if you want to come on camera, we can take that group selfie. And again, if there is any other questions, maybe you can stay for a couple of minutes more. But
yeah, for sure.
If you're comfortable to come on camera, let me just remove the spotlight. Okay, Hamza, be careful. Okay, anyone else? You're going once, going twice. So When ready, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and smile. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for showing up. Thank you, Dr. Paul, for the great wisdom today. Great session, great nuggets, and thank you. Any final words?
Any last questions or anything at all? I just want you to know that public speaking has been the single biggest skill that I have learned that has had the biggest impact on my career. It has made me money, got me clients, gotten me opportunities. Being able to public speak is an asset to you any time of your life. And I extend that offer if you want to reach out to me and you want to come to my Toastmasters club. It's an awesome club. I like bringing people as guests, and you can come visit as many times as you want. I have nothing in it for me for you to come other than I like hanging out with people. So Ahmed has come. I have brought a whole lot of people. I bring my TEDx speakers there to practice. So it's just a great place to learn, to hear great stories, and to have fun. So reach out to me if you want to come and connect with me on LinkedIn. I didn't put my link in there because it's too confusing for me to. Oh, you did it? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah. Okay, thank you again, Dr. Paul. This is really great. Appreciate your wisdom here, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Have a great Sunday, everyone.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you again.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Nadisa. Bye, Ramsey. Bye, everyone, if I didn't name you.
Have a nice one.
Yeah,
Have a good weekend, guys.
you too.